We've got Mateo, who's released way before Mato, which makes no sense because he's only Mater's puny brother-in-law. We didn't get Mato released first, who was Mater's sister, so definitely a much more prominent character, but at least they did release her in time for this video. There's such a stark contrast between both of these characters, which I find to be absolutely hilarious considering they got married, because here we have Mato, who is one of the biggest mainline singles you could probably hope to find. I mean, look, she takes up the whole entire length of her blister, and then we have Mateo, who you practically need a magnifying glass to see in there. I like how both of these characters use brand new molds from Mattel, and the only reason that's surprising is because of how many repaints they've been doing for so many of the Cars on the Road characters, but this is definitely refreshing. Even though he's a Fiat and comes to be very similar to some of the other characters that Mattel has released as cars, as far as I can tell, he is the only one with this mold. And man, is he small. He's not quite as small as Luigi, but he's definitely getting there. Mater, you have a sister? Yep, apparently. Kind of an odd plot device, but makes for a cool diecast. Really, there are no cars that I'm aware of that come close to the type of model of car that Mato is, which is really cool. We get a brand new model in our cars collection. Mateo's diecast isn't all that unique in and of itself, but I do find it has a certain charm to it that I like. His eyes are 100% purple in color, and apparently this is not a mistake on Mattel's part. It looks like he's gotten a tuxedo painted on with jet black color and some white trim detailing, so we would presume that he was a totally different colored Fiat before this. You can see he has some roses attached to his rear view mirror, which is a nice detailed touch. Mato is wearing the same flowers on her head, except she has a lot more of them. I do believe that Mateo would be an otherwise decent release, except he does suffer, unfortunately, from grainy Thailand eye detailing. His rims are a little bit grainy with their green paint. However, fortunately, this is a little bit harder to notice considering how small his wheels actually are. Mato has a super reflective and glossy blue paint job, which I think looks awesome, and I think the color is pretty close to the one she had in the show, and I do recall in the episode she also had extremely glossy and reflective paint, so I think they captured this fairly nicely on the diecast. Based on how prestigious and fancy her paint job and vehicle is, it's kind of hard to believe that she's related to Mater. However, they do give her imperfect teeth, which I think is a nice detail because in a way it does help her to resemble Mater a little bit. It's interesting to point out that they also do have the same eye color. From a distance, the flowers she's wearing on her head look kind of weird, as if it's some kind of brain. At least that's the first impression that I got. But when you get up close to it, you can actually see that on this plastic attachment, there are some nicely sculpted detailing reflecting the different petals that are in the flowers, as well as some green, though I think to make it more believable, there ought to have been a little bit more green in there to represent that part of the flower. I do think that it's interesting, though, how Mato's basic release did come with these wedding flowers on her head, considering that for most of the episode she actually didn't have this at all. So it would have made more sense to me if later on they released her with this and made her a variant and called her Wedding Mato, but this is the route they went with, and at this point it doesn't seem likely that we'll ever see a Mato or Mateo without the flowers attached to them. As characters, I think that Mato and Mateo are some of the least believable. For one thing, they coincidentally have such a similar name, which I just think is really weird, but I can get over that. The thing is, though, in the show when they suggest that Mater has a sister, which we've never heard of before, I think that's just a little bit random, though they make it work fairly well. But the thing that I don't think they can really pull off is the fact that Mater is the brother of Mato, and Cruz Ramirez is also the cousin of Mateo. That's just a really weird coincidence. Even though they are a bit odd as characters, I do like them, and I think that these diecasts are some of the best that we have seen as new releases from Cars on the Road to date.